Let's jump right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to look at something that just kind of sits quietly in the background of our modern lives, but literally reshaped the entire world. I'm talking about the compass. We're going to trace how a tiny, almost completely ordinary-looking mystery, just a piece of stone and metal, grew to dictate the fate of global civilizations. It changed trade, travel, warfare, the whole shebang. It's this massive story of ancient science and accidental discovery, all kicking off with one very small object. To really wrap our heads around the magnitude of this invention, I want you to imagine being completely, hopelessly lost. You're out in the middle of nowhere, there are no roads, no glowing map app in the palm of your hand, no satellites pinging your location from space. The sun is shifting, the sky is changing, the landscape is totally unfamiliar. Every single path you look down just feels wrong. How do you find your way home? Well, for early humans, knowing your direction literally meant survival. As our ancestors started taking longer journeys, getting lost could mean, getting lost forever. Now, sure, they had natural clues. They used the sun, the stars at night, rivers, mountains. But those clues, they were incredibly fragile. Think about it, a sudden shift in weather, a foggy night, a thick forest, or heading out into the vast featureless ocean. Any of that could instantly erase all those natural landmarks. Humanity desperately needed a way to orient itself when the world offered absolutely zero answers. And that exact desperation paved the way for a shockingly elegant solution. Section 1. Magic, Mystery, and Magnetism. The inciting incident. So long before anyone understood the Earth's core or magnetic fields, ancient people just sort of stumbled upon certain rocks that had, strange powers. They called them lodestones. These were naturally magnetized rocks that could literally attract iron. Now, put yourself in their shoes. To an ancient observer, seeing a piece of metal jump toward a stone all by itself didn't look like science. No way. It looked like magic. It almost looked alive. People treated these lodestones with wonder, a bit of fear, and serious spiritual reverence. And this very basic observation that a few weird stones behaved completely differently from all the others was the crucial first step toward the compass. Section 2. A tool for the oceans. The pivot in ancient China. Ancient China is really where the practical development of the compass kicked off. But here's the wild part. At first, they didn't use magnetic objects to sail ships. They used them for divination, basically trying to understand harmony and cosmic order. They'd take this magnetized spoon-like object, set it on a smooth plate, and just watch it rotate until it pointed in a consistent direction, supposedly connecting with the universe. But as it always does, curiosity morphed into experimentation. By the time of the Song dynasty, this spiritual cosmic tool had evolved into practical, floating, magnetized needles used for actual navigation. They figured out that having a consistent orientation was an absolute lifesaver. And this perfectly illustrates a profound historical truth. Inventions often begin in one purpose and end in another. I absolutely love this quote from our source material. Think about it. A tool originally designed by ancient scholars to understand the hidden cosmic order of the universe eventually became the exact technology that allowed humans to physically conquer the Earth. It is a stunning pivot in history. Section 3. The engine of global history. The global catalyst. Okay, so knowledge of this incredible little device started spreading like wildfire through trade networks. It moved out of ancient China, passed through the Islamic world, which, by the way, played a massive role in transferring this knowledge, and eventually landed in Europe. And when it hit Europe, it became the absolute cornerstone of maritime exploration. Without the compass, those great European voyages across the oceans would have been basically suicidal to even attempt. It adapted as it moved from culture to culture, and ultimately it sparked the age of exploration. Now, this brings us to a massive psychological shift. The compass didn't actually remove the physical dangers of the sea, right? I mean, storms and rogue waves were still very real threats. But what it did do was reduce the uncertainty of direction. It made the terrifying, open unknown mentally navigable. And when uncertainty shrinks, human confidence skyrockets. Suddenly, a navigator dared to travel a little farther. Merchants risked sending their goods across dangerous waters. Because people knew they could reliably find their way back, societies began developing much, much bigger ambitions. But we need to look at the whole picture here. The compass is kind of the hidden engine behind modern global history, and its impacts are deeply dual-natured. On one side, it massively expanded global trade, allowed us to draw accurate maps, and kicked off the age of exploration. But on the flip side, it drove massive empire building, facilitated widespread colonization, and fundamentally changed military warfare. Suddenly, navies and expeditionary forces could project power across vast, vast distances. You see, technology is never morally neutral. It just depends on who is using it and why. This humble little tool fueled both brilliant human discovery and ruthless global domination. Section 4. The science behind the needle, how it actually works. The engineering behind the compass is just beautiful because it is so incredibly simple. Step 1, you magnetize an iron needle. Step 2, you mount it freely on a pivot, or you float it in a bowl of water so there's zero friction. And step 3, you literally just sit back and let it align with the Earth's magnetic field. That's it. There's no engine, no fuel, no software patch to update. It's just a tiny magnetic object directly responding to the fact that the Earth itself behaves like a giant magnet. Simplicity absolutely won the day. Now, the compass isn't exactly perfect. It actually doesn't point to true north, the geographic top of the globe. It points to magnetic north, which actually shifts around slightly depending on where you're standing on the planet. This difference is called magnetic declination. So as navigation got more advanced, humans had to figure out the quirks and imperfections of their new tool. They had to learn how to combine the compass with charts, landmarks, and studying the stars just to use it properly. And that brings up another fascinating point from the sources. Discovery often comes before explanation. Ancient sailors were out there successfully crossing vast, deadly oceans using magnetism centuries before anyone understood modern physics or how magnetic fields even worked. They just saw the effect, and they used it. Practical, boots-on-the-ground knowledge completely preceded the scientific theory. Eventually, though, the explanation did come. This simple navigational tool actually opened the door to some incredibly deep scientific inquiry. Because once humans realized that the Earth itself was influencing this little floating needle, they started asking, well, what other invisible forces are operating beneath the surface of reality? That very curiosity led directly to modern physics, geomagnetism, and the scientific study of the Earth as a whole. The compass wasn't just a final product, it was a gateway. Section 5. A poetic resolution, the timeless conversation. In our hyper-connected, digital modern era, the compass has this incredibly poetic resilience to it. It points without speaking, it gives you direction without starting an argument, and most importantly, it works without batteries, without software, and without an internet connection. Even if the satellites fail, or GPS goes down, or your map app totally glitches out, the compass still quietly says, here is north. It's a humble, ancient, and perfectly reliable tie to the planet itself. It is the result of a long, multi-generational human conversation with nature. Which leaves us with this final, really thought-provoking question to chew on. What modern magic are we observing today that will shape the global civilization of tomorrow? Remember, the compass didn't start in some multi-billion-dollar corporate lab. It started because someone just noticed a strange rock moving a piece of metal, and they stopped and asked, what is this, and what can it do? That tiny mystery changed absolutely everything. It built trade networks, expanded the maps, and created the loud, connected world we live in right now. So keep your eyes open for the strange and the unexplained things around us today, because that, my friends, is where the future begins. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.